The ABCs of horror.
Welcome to the HellBound Horror Show. Tonight we're taking a look at a riddle found in our good friend the Necronomicon. Here's how it goes. How do you create a classic horror film about two characters that absolutely despise each other? The answer? It's easy. You just have to cast two people that actually despise each other. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is revered as a classic. Both Bette Davis and Joan Crawford give some of their best performances in this tense, thrilling drama. There's the rub for me. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is critically acclaimed and it's been reviewed so well. I went into the film thinking that I was going to see one of the greatest horror films from the 1960s. But my expectations were destroyed when I realized that this is a lot closer to a drama than it is to a horror film. Don't get me wrong. This is still a great film and a timeless classic, but I think it fails at being a horror film. Sure, there are some tense moments, but I think those fall a little bit closer to thriller than anything. Misery by Stephen King takes the same ideas in the core concept and actually throws it more into a horror environment. I'll get into how Misery and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane coincide in a bit, but first, let's find out what actually happened to Baby Jane. The story starts back when a young Baby Jane was a star. She would perform on stage in front of hundreds of people and was the talk of the town. Everyone loved Baby Jane, but she was a bit of a brat, and her older sister Blanche was forced to deal with it. We then fast forward to them in their 20s. Blanche has gone on to become one of Hollywood's brightest young stars. She has a contract that states for every movie that she's in, her younger sister Jane has to be cast in another movie as well. Little Baby Jane, unfortunately, isn't very talented as an adult, and the child stardom has almost faded into obscurity. However, the older sister Blanche tries to keep her younger sister relevant and afloat until one fateful night where everything goes wrong. Blanche is involved in a car wreck which leaves her paralyzed from the waist down. She must rely on her younger sister Jane for total and complete dependence. We fast forward again until they are old ladies. Blanche relies on Jane to provide food, to take care of the property, and so much more. The TV begins to play all of Blanche's old movies, which begins to upset Jane. Jane slowly begins to lose her cool, as well as starting to hit the bottle again. What follows is a tension-filled ride. You have the straight character who is completely dependent on someone slowly going off the deep end. It's a great film, but it just didn't tickle my fancy. There were too many head-scratching moments where I couldn't get invested in the film. Like, why would Blanche, a paraplegic from the waist down, have a room on the top story of the house? That just seems super inconvenient to everyone. Also, Baby Jane drives the fastest car in the entire world. She could be across town, but if the plot needs her to, she'll be home in 3 seconds. And why didn't Blanche call the police when she had the chance? And don't even get me started on their relationship. Why does Baby Jane act the way that she does? Yes, I understand their backstory, but let's think about it. Jane has successfully been taking care of Blanche for the last 3 decades. And now she's suddenly becoming a monster? And even if she was unstable before, why would it take Blanche 30 plus years to decide to move out? Yeah, I get it. It builds for tension, but it just doesn't play out in the real world, or at least in my opinion. Misery did it a lot better from a horror perspective. Both themes are almost identical, however, Misery has a stranger as the caretaker. You don't know what this person is capable of. You know nothing, and there is no pre-established relationship. Since you don't know this person, they can't go against their own character. In Misery, you also have the isolation, not to mention that physical intimidation. Kathy Bates isn't super strong or anything, but compared to an aging Bette Davis, she looks like a brute. Both movies have very similar themes, but I think that Misery is more suited for the horror fans. Now, if you want a meta-analysis of the relationship between Joan Crawford and Bette Davis, then Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is right up your alley. And before I go, I just want to state it one more time. I do not think that Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is a bad movie. It's a great movie. It just didn't scratch my horror itch.